Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Aicha Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Aicha Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Aicha Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at aichasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Cynthia Prefontaine, how are you, and welcome back.
Hi, thank you. I am well, and you?
I'm doing great. It's 2024, and we started this in 2020. And the last time I talked to you was we were having Sara Price on, and you work with her. But the last time I had you on was in 21, and unfortunately, you were preparing for an event, and COVID happened, and that event didn't happen for you. And lots of things have been going on in your life, and I want to catch up on some of that and talk about the event, the rally that you got to go to.
Yeah, for sure. The event you're talking about is the Rallye Aicha of the Gazelles. So it's known as the toughest all-female rally on earth. Had to get this right, but yeah, that's what it is.
All right.
Yeah.
And how did you find this?
Actually, very long time ago, it was on TV or something, so I've heard of it that way. And then in 2015, actually it would have been 2014, Sara was wanting to go and participate, and she's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And in Sara's fashion, she's like, "I want to go right now." Like we had 3 months or so to prepare, whatever it was. I was like, no, I don't think I can do this. And she ended up going with Erica, which is fantastic. But it always stuck in my mind that I was going to do it. So in July 2018, I set myself to do this event. And then 2019 comes around. We were going to go, but the funding was, it was okay, but we just didn't feel really ready. So I was like, well, we're just going to wait till 2020. Well, 2020 happened. I was on my way to the airport, and they call me, like that event people call me, and they're like, "Hey, turn around, like you're flying out today, don't fly out." And I was like, "Ha, that's funny." Like, that's a good joke, because for us in North America, it did not come here for another 3 weeks. Like we heard about it, but it wasn't anything serious for another 3 weeks. But in Europe, it hit pretty hard by then. And if I would have flown to Morocco, we would have been stuck there until August, because they wouldn't allow anyone to leave the country.
Wow. Good thing you didn't fly out.
Yeah.
Man, that would have been a tough call staying there till August.
Oh, yeah. March till August. Like I'd be 10, that's for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, that
I've been there. It's a crazy place.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
wild. It's fun though. I really like Morocco.
uh, Marrakesh is something to be seen.
That's where we stayed for 8 days. I'm just trying to think. Like it was a whole month we just spent in Morocco. So, but we were there for just over a week, I think, in Marrakesh.
That's a crazy place too, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole place is wild.
Exactly, exactly. But you're also, excuse me for the way I'm going to put this, you are a great outdoors person. You do things that I have dreamed my life to do that I don't have the opportunity with hunting and fishing and riding motorcycles and snowmobiles. Um, where did all of that enthusiasm to be such a great sportswoman? I mean, there are men that can't do what you do. Lots of them.
um well, I appreciate that. When I stopped racing, so I was racing ATV motocross for quite some years, and I moved to Alberta in 2015. Um, and I raced a little bit when I first moved here and did the typical thing, worked at Oilfield. And the quad scene wasn't really that great here. So I was like, man, like, what am I gonna do? Because I'm all, like, when you're used to that racing schedule, which is crazy. You're working full time, you're racing full time, and you're just doing everything full time, so you don't have time to think about anything. And then you stop racing, and you're like, "What am I gonna do?" And here, people were like, "Oh well, everybody here hunts. We climb mountains. We do this. We do that because the backcountry here is phenomenal." And I'm like, "Man, I'll give it a try." Like, I don't know. I've never done anything else. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I started riding dirt bike instead of quad. Still love quads, but it's really not a popular thing here at all. So dirt biking, climbing mountains, either on foot or dirt bike, it's kind of become my thing. And I don't know, the more I do it, the more I want to push into it, the more I want to bring people with me, the more I want to share it. So I don't know, just keep kind of pushing into it.
How did you get into helping Sarah and promote her career, which also promotes you?
Yeah. Well, Sarah and I go way back. Like, I think we figured we've known each other for 12 years. So at the end of Sarah's motocross career, I had a calendar back then. So I just phoned her out of the blue. I was like, "Hey, I don't know you. You want to come to Montreal and do a calendar?" She was like, "Yeah, sure." And we just hit it off since. Like, we've been really close friends ever since. And obviously she is blowing up right now and she needed help. So I mean, the last few years I've always been like in the shadow a little bit, like everything you see that goes out, like whether it's going to be a newsletter or like some stuff, like I'm always in the background. I love going to the races, doing all the strategy or telling people what to do, basically. I'm just like, yeah, I got it, let's go, we're doing this. Like, it's always kind of been something I like to do. And then now that her stuff, like everything, her career, racing, everything is just blowing up, she can't just do it all by herself. So I've definitely stepped up more this year, more than any other years. But it's something we've been doing for years. It's just now more serious, I'd say.
Do you plan on making it your business to guide careers as well as do the things that you do in the backcountry?
So yes, in a way I already do. What I do, it's called, well, we're going back and forth, but 27, so T7 Motorsport, sometimes it's T7 Consulting, working on that. But I already offer consulting for athletes and people in general that are into motorsport, because motorsport is my first baby, my first passion. So anything that has to do with branding, marketing, like I'm not an agent that's gonna go find sponsors. I personally really don't like doing that. But everything that has to do with managing the whole business, like everything. Yeah, you have your sponsors, you have an agent, no problem. This is how it needs to happen though. And then I can things like place things in place.
Put all the
uh,
pieces where they belong.
Yeah, and like going, like I mentioned, like going to the races is something I really like to do, which obviously the last 8 months, that's all I've been doing is just traveling everywhere and go to the races. We work on strategy. I feel like I'm a little bit the mom. Like I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. Everybody's fine. Like make sure you're eating. Like, okay, or this is what time we're starting. Make sure you're there at that time. And then today, this is what the day looks like. And kind of make sure everybody's looked after and someone has to do it. And I actually really like doing that. So that with my company, along with the whole like marketing and management aspect of things, it's kind of something I already do. And then you can add the whole outdoor thing to it as well.
And the exposure you get from a career like hers that's blossoming with the things that you do yourself, that just adds to your exposure, and then that brings you more clients.
Yeah, naturally, it's one thing leads into another. Like her success is also my success. Like when we have, like, everybody sees now like the whole explosion of everything, the wins and everything. But I remember the years of DNF and cries and everything that, like, when you're trying so hard and it's not happening, like all these years I was there for that as well. So that the fact it's finally exploding and everything is going way better. It's definitely, it's also, it feels like part of my success as well. And but also when things go wrong, it feels like it's also part my responsibility as well. So it's a whole team effort, honestly.
Yeah, you can't do the events that you're taking part in by yourself. There's just no way.
No, it's too big. It's beyond, like, for me, like we went to Dakar this year and you think you're prepared. It's the freak show, it's the biggest of everything. And quite frankly, for rookies, we were quite prepared, but then you get there and you're like, the magnitude of everything is like, oh my God. Like, everything is so much bigger. So, you have to adapt to all of that too. And I think going into hopefully next year, we're going to be even more prepared and we actually will know what we're
Up against.
going into this time.
Yeah, I remember the first year I got to go to South America with Rafael Sonic, and that first couple days before the rally, you're just all over the city looking for the items that you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you weren't prepared for this or they weren't prepared for that. And I was just there to tend to the machine, but we were out running around taking care of everything the team needed because they needed somebody to do it. So that's what I got to do.
Yeah, everybody has, like, everybody pitch in. You have no other option. Like it becomes everybody's problem.
Right. So, being that you were at Dakar, how did it translate over for the rally that you got to do? And did did it fill in some of the blanks that you were going to have?
So as far as, so the Rally of the Gazelle is a navigation rally, so map and compass only. So that did not translate as far as, like, Dakar is a speed race. It's a road book, like it's quite different. But as far as preparation, logistics, like going in a foreign country, like everything else, like sleeping in a tent, like moving bivouac, all of that, like I was already really comfortable with, so I didn't have to stress over any of it. And doing the whole like tenting for 2 weeks straight, like I do it already on my own, like here in the backcountry. So like all of that was, that part to me was very easy. Um, yeah, that was like from Morocco, or like Rallye du Maroc and Dakar to the Gazelle, like that part was made it really easy for me. The rally itself, like we did our navigation training the day before the rally started. Everybody thought we were crazy. But it was fresh on our mind. Definitely nothing like anything I've ever done before. Like we get those maps from the 1950s ish. And they give you some points on the map and you have to figure out the shortest distance to from checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2 and until how many checkpoints you have during the day. So that was new. I was pretty confident in my driving. My navigator was pretty confident in her navigation, but we still have never done anything like that. So we were kind of winging it. Like we did get lost in prologue, which prologue doesn't count over there except for starting line, but really doesn't really matter. But we also had issues with the Polaris. We needed a new fuel pump. We had to get towed at prologue, and we're like, I was so stressed because I'm like, I've been waiting like 4 years to do this. Like, I'm doing it and I'm finishing it. So I did not know how I was gonna do it, but it was gonna happen. So long story short, we got a new fuel pump. We had some issues because April in Morocco is really warm. Like we had to race at 40. Well, okay, when I say 40, I don't know what it translates to in Fahrenheit, but it's really hot.
Yeah.
It's so warm. Like at night, I was sweating, still sleeping. It was really, really warm. So we battled. I think we got used to the heat, like just to live in it. We had sandstorm every day except for 2 nights. We had one sandstorm so bad they had to cancel the next day because we had to sleep in a truck. Like it was super gnarly. Never experienced anything like that. But overall, it went quite well. We figured out the whole navigation and driving straight. Everybody thinks driving straight's easy. It's not that easy. And it went quite well, I'd say.
Well, if you're not don't have a GPS and you don't have a track in front of you, yeah, I could see how you could very easily veer off.
Yeah, and the visibility was the worst they've ever had, they said. So we couldn't see. There's one day we could see very far. Every other day we had to retake our cap every 400 meter at most. Like, well, and now I'm talking meters, but like 1,000 feet at most. Like it was crazy. When you have days of 150 kilometers, like it takes a minute before you get anywhere. So we like it was the same for everyone, to be honest. You get used to it. We did not know any different, so we just dealt with it.
And that's kind of what it was all about, how you could overcome the obstacles of the environment.
Oh yeah, 100%. There was a lot of rocks in Morocco. I thought it was just sand. It's not the case.
What about the wildlife?
Nothing crazy. We seen a lot of like bugs, interesting bugs. We seen gazelle tracks actually. Someone seen an ostrich. I don't know, that's all. Like nothing crazy, so
When we were there and we went across the desert, we ran into um gosh, what I almost forget what it was. One animal in a herd, and that was it.
that's it. Yeah, everything sleeps during the day. They all go hide somewhere because it's so warm.
We were supposedly near lions, but never seen any of them,
I don't
ourselves.
think I honestly I don't know if there's lions in Morocco. I'd be surprised though, because it's just desert, like dunes, a lot of dunes, and I guess a lot of rocks. We've seen an incredible amount of camels, goats, and sheep, but they're all like farm animals for the most part.
Right. I'm sure that there's more wildlife there. Just you'd have to go hunt it out and find
Yeah.
it, which I'm sure hunting is not an issue for you. You could, well, let me ask you this. Based on your ability to navigate the forest and hunting, navigating the desert is different, but you had a base idea of what you were getting into, right?
Yeah, for sure. I realized, and my co-driver, we shared the same thought. Like mountains are so much harder to navigate because you have trees. There's no trees over there. So, mountains are like really steep, really fast in your face. So you really can't tell where you're going as much. Where this is a lot of open space, and even in the dunes, even if it's like dunes as far as the eye can see, there's still one that kind of looks different, or there's always like it was funny between her and I though, because we would be like, oh yeah, this dune over there, and then she's like, yeah, okay, and then I'd start going, she's like, no, wrong dune. But we figured it out, like we got better at this. But yeah, the whole navigation aspect of, like, I don't think once we felt overwhelmed with just being out there, because really you can see, even if the visibility wasn't great, like you can still see quite far. Like there's no mountains really that you can't see to the top, or like it's all rocks, so there's no trees, there's nothing to really mess with your navigation.
Right. And the promoters, they had it covered for if you guys ever had an issue where you needed help, they could get to you.
Yeah, so in our razor we had an area track and a Unix system, which is the same as they use at Dakar, as far as I'm concerned, except they have a roadbook and we had nothing. But our little device had medical emergency, so they would get to you with a helicopter if they could, because we had a lot of wind, so that would have been interesting, but they get to you quite fast. Or mechanical, which we had the first day. You just hit the button and then they confirm you need mechanical, yes, and then they'll get to you, and then you have a phone. So if you need to talk to them for something emergency wise, obviously, you could communicate with them. But as far as that, you're really on your own. Like they take your phone away for 9 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could use Google Maps or whatever, and if you had service. So, and you couldn't prepare any maps other than what they give you.
No, because so they gave us the map day one. They'll give you we had a stack, I think it was 20 maps. The maps are bigger than my screen. They're huge. And then the morning of, they give you your route. So you get your first point actually. Well, for us, side by side was a bit different because we're always on the route V, they called, but there's 8 different route, I want to say. So they'll give you your checkpoint for number one, and then you have to get there from the bivouac. And at checkpoint number one, then they give you your route for the whole day. So they'll give you a sheet with most of your checkpoint. And I don't think I brought anything back, but most of them have like your coordinates, and then you have to figure out how far it is and which cap you need to hit for to get there. Some of them don't have coordinates, so you have to figure out what the cap they're giving you, where you're going. And then once you make your line on your map, then you have to determine if it's the fastest, well, shortest route to get there. But sometimes there's mountains you can't climb, like impossible, even on foot you couldn't climb, so you have to go around. And that's where strategy comes into place, because if you go around like you're just following it, you're making way longer kilometers than if you just go like this.
I like you described that. It makes it that easy, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And you guys had no issues other than the fuel pump?
No, we did a little bit, like we did have some issues with like the vapor lock. It's a known problem, which we outsmart them that last day. We just opened the gas cap like every time we got out. But also like many side by side had issues, mainly because it was like plus 48 outside. So I don't know, like it must be like 120, or I don't know what it is, but it is really warm. That's what I can tell you. So machines don't really like that either.
Humans don't, machines don't. I
No,
totally
nobody
get that.
does. Even local people were telling us how miserable the weather was. We're like, I don't know, like it's pretty bad, but
Well, I would rather be in the warmth than the cold.
that's fair. That's fair. Depends. The coal you can just keep adding layers. Like there's a limit though. Like anything
It
past minus 20, I'm like, meh.
hurts my bones.
Yeah, it hurts my feelings too.
So when you go riding or you go hunting or whatever you're doing in the outback there, um, none of the outdoors knowledge that you had, or how much of the outdoors knowledge that you had helped you in the rally?
I think the biggest thing is that when I go out in the mountains, like we have wildlife that can kill you here. And you see it quite like often, I'd say. Um, and you're just out in the element and the crazy, like a sandstorm is not great, but yeah, whatever, like it's not a big deal. Compared to here, you can, like, I remember hiking in the one day and it was like t-shirt weather. It was really warm. And the next day I woke up to 4 inches of snow. And it was -10 at night, so probably that's 10-ish Fahrenheit. So the weather changes, the mountain sometimes I always say doesn't care. Because it doesn't. So being in Morocco in the warmth, I really had nothing to worry about. We actually had a really shitty tent. We didn't know better. And we they recommended this really fast 2 minute like pop-up tent, and we did not have that. We had a pop-up tent that had folding arms that you just pop up like that. But the problem is with the fly on top of it, the wind was so crazy every night that it would collapse on us all the time. So we had to remove the fly and sleep under the stars every single night, but in a sandstorm most of the time. So we had to have like a scarf over our face because we would wake up getting blasted by sand. It was great. Like, there's honestly, it takes a lot for me to get like nervous or phase about something. So I thought that was actually pretty funny.
That sounds miserable, you know.
I mean, it's not the greatest.
But you knew going in that it's a survivalist event in harsh environment, and coming from your background, it's either cold or it's hot, and this one just happens to be in the sand.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, like that part wasn't very challenging. I mean, quite frankly, the whole rally, I think if I would have gone actually 4 years ago, would have been way more challenging. And everything I've been doing in the last 4 years has really prepared me for that. And there's really not a time where I was like feeling overwhelmed. And you know, when you get that feeling of like, I don't know where I'm at, or like I'm in a foreign country, don't speak the language, and you know, just kind of this really not great feeling. I didn't have that once. I was just like, whatever. I'm just gonna deal with it.
You know, I've never had an issue with any of the travel I've ever done with language. Okay, I don't speak a lot of languages. I don't speak English. My wife's from Mexico and she speaks Spanish and English, and she speaks Spanish to me all the time. It's easy to understand what she's talking about. No, can I tell you what the words exactly mean? No, but I get the gist. And it's the same when I would travel to Poland, or you know, I've been to Russia and some of those other countries. Uh, the French is a little harder.
Which French is my first language, so I did get told that my French was bad. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I'm like, what do you mean my French is bad? It's my first language, but I don't speak French like the French
Right.
people. I have my own French, I guess, from Canada. And yep, I was told my French is bad.
Gotta love that one. Yeah, the French people themselves are different, you know. So
Yeah.
you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's
You've
totally
got to
fine.
deal with them with FIM, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I on our side is FIA. Imagine FIM is the same, but yes, it's a interesting thing to deal with
Yeah,
FIA.
we'll be nice. We'll be nice and just leave it at that. I didn't particularly get along with the officials very well.
That's a tough one.
Very, and being an American made it even worse. because I was like one of the only ones and they did not. It was kind of funny. The same officials in South America were the same officials that we had in France when we raced the Pont de Vaux.
Is Pont de Vaux FIM?
It was at the time.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if it is
That's
anymore or what.
the one guy, the guy that was doing tech in Argentina was the same guy that I dealt with in France.
Oh, I did not know Pont de Vaux was FIM back then. I don't know today, but I had no clue.
Yeah, well, I think everything that's motorsport is FIM.
In Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't get away from them. You know, not an organization that I think should ever come here, but it is what it is. You know, you got to deal with them. What are you going to attack next?
It's a good question. We'll see. I have a few things I'm talking about. I can't really talk about it right now, so we'll see. I'm not 100% sure. There's a few opportunities out there. Obviously there's Sarah stuff too that we're working on. I'm not sure. I am not 100% sure. I want to do some right now. Like actually I'm heading down to Mexico for Trails of Mission with Sarah and the whole crew down there I'm going there Saturday. And then after that, when I'm back here in Canada, I would like to spend the summer here, climb some mountains, ride my dirt bike, and then kind of see what comes out of it. And I think fall is going to get pretty busy again.
Well, that you get to spend the time in Canada riding your dirt bike and climbing some mountains, that's got to be pretty fun all on its own. Um, and speaking of Sarah, I don't know if you knew when I reached out to her to have her on the show. I don't know if you had something to do with her saying yes, but I was pretty shocked that she did say yes.
She's the
Um,
most down to earth person. Like she's amazing.
I really enjoyed talking with her. I really did. Um, you know, you have a good personality too. You make everything fun. Well, so did she. You know, she instantly made it easy to talk to her and ask her questions. And I appreciate that. That as soon as I found out you were there, I was like, oh, wow, I feel way better about it because I have an ally, you know, because I did tell her that you had been on the show and everything. So that made it that much better for me. And I
That's
appreciate
awesome.
it. I wanted to get more in depth with your um, Untamed Wilderness, what kind of events that you put on, or how much training do you do in helping people learn about the woods or about some of the things that you know how to do. I know that you weren't an expert at one point, but you seem to be now.
I don't know about an expert. This is one thing with me is like when I set my mind into something, I do it fully and I'll go to the end, which I feel like is a really hard thing to do because you never, like you're always chasing, you're never actually reaching the end of anything. So no, like if you go back a few years ago, I was actually scared to go walk in the wood by myself because there's so much wildlife here and I was terrified. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna do it. So I'm a little stubborn and I started doing it and I fell in love with it. And I realized that I can share that because people reach out quite often and they're like, hey, I would love to go overnight in the backcountry, but I'm terrified. I don't know what to bring. I don't know how to do it or anything like that. So I figured that this new business, so Untamed is new. I could teach people how to go in the backcountry, how to like look for signs if there's wildlife, or if you want to go hunting, how to read the mountain, how to navigate the mountain. Because yeah, there is a lot of trails, like a lot of hiking trails, but I mean, I like it for just a casual walk in the park kind of thing, but what I like the most is to look on the map, pick a spot, and find a way to get there. So I just want to share that. I want to share something that's really important for me because I was not a hunter. If you go back a few years ago, I actually love animals. And then I started hunting And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. And turns out I love it, but I like the hard, you have to earn it type of hunting. And I want to teach about it. I want to teach about the importance of um ethical hunting and like eating, consuming, harvesting the entire animal, paying respect to it. Like the whole process for me is really important. And I'm not someone that just want to go out there and kill stuff. That actually I can't do it. So I just want to share that. I want to share even sometimes like just how to shoot a rifle or shoot their bow or whatever. Like some people are just scared to try things. So if I offer them and something that they can actually come and have this kind of building a friendship with new people that have the same interests but are kind of in the same boat, like just that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
I think that's outstanding. You know, there's not enough of it, in my opinion. Um, so in 23, I went hunting for the first time, and I've been exposed to it my whole life. But with racing, you know, you're always somewhere else during hunting season. And one of the guys I raced with or helped race and did some work on his machine invited me to go. I had a blast. Didn't get anything. Didn't even get to shoot at anything really. Um, but I did have a great time. It was awesome being out in the wilderness and walking through the Arizona mountains. Um, you know, hoping and expecting. My wife is at home and she's like praying that I don't get anything because she doesn't want me to bring anything home. But it was still an amazing experience. So if you could teach that to children, ladies, other men that want to know, I think that's an incredible thing that you could
I think
pass
so
on.
too. I think people have the wrong idea about hunting and it's all about killing. And that's actually my least favorite part. Like, I don't know how many times I've been out and I got nothing, but I still had the best time ever. And the time that I actually went out and I got something, I am so proud because I have an elk in the freezer and I got over 400 pounds worth of meat and I've been eating it for 2 years almost and I'm still not through it. But I'm like, this is my work. This is me. Like, I know where this animal comes from. I know that it had a life because I obviously don't shoot babies. I'm more like, okay, this one is a mature animal. It had a life. It reproduced itself. Like, its genetic is out there, you know? So I just know because I will pass so many animals before I take one. And when I take the one, I see it and I know and I'm like, okay, this is the one. So I feel calm about it. And it's really like racing. I always compare it to racing when you get that 30-second, the 5 and the gate drop. And I'm like, when you see the animal, you get the 30-second. When you're like actually hitting the trigger, like you're gonna do it, that's that 5 seconds. And then when you release it, it's that gate drop. And then the energy and the adrenaline that just goes into that is insane. Like there could probably be a bomb exploding behind me and I would not even know it's there.
Because
You
you're so
just get so
focused in on,
focused. Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy.
And you bow hunt too, right?
I started bow hunting last year actually. I wanted to make it harder. So I started bow hunting. I got my first bear, my first bow hunt, and it was 27 yard, I want to say it was. I can't remember, but yeah, I think it's 27 yard. And that was insane. Like I thought, because last year I ruptured my Achilles. So I had 3 month in a boot and I was actually in a tree stand, climbing a tree stand with my boot when I got that bear. And I was out there just with my bow. Might not have been the smartest thing. And there's bear wanting to climb my tree stand, and there's bears all around me. And I'm like, oh my God, I may actually die. Like, and this is sounds maybe crazy, but that's what I like the most about hunting is that you become one of them. Like you're in their element. There is no like you can't cheat the rules. Like you're out there and you're at the mercy of the animal. If you mess up, you might end up dead. Like it's part of the risk.
Right. You're in their kitchen.
You are, and that's their home. They know all these trails and the trees, and they know everything, right? So yeah, that was a thrill.
I, I
So,
like I like the fact that you're a real outdoors person because you know that it's their world and you're venturing into it.
mhm. You have to
I
respect that.
I get really pissed when you hear the news when somebody gets mad because they wandered into a cat's territory and it ate them. Well,
Hey,
you went
flash
into his,
news.
yeah, you were in his kitchen. What do you expect?
Yeah, like you're like, what if someone trespass on your property? Like, you're not gonna be happy. It just, this one just decided to eat you.
Yeah, he's got to eat something, right?
Yeah.
So you can't talk about what you have coming up in the motorsports industry other than you do have some stuff going on with Sarah. Um, and you guys are planning to go back to Dakar next year?
I mean, it's in the talk. I think we'll know more soon. Definitely in the talk, definitely in the plans. Like, we want to. Um, we have nothing for sure yet. But last year at this time, nothing was for sure, and we ended up at Dakar. So, it can change pretty fast. I think she did phenomenal, and the goal is to go there and actually try to get a win this time.
I think with the experience that you've gained, and the team that she has with her, everybody learned enough. I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we got very close this year with very little experience. It was a very steep learning curve, like from, it's not just racing over there. Like, it's not just what we're used to. There's a lot of strategy. I mean, it's a 15-day long race. FI has rules that you have to play by that we don't necessarily have that here in North America. So like for us is a very steep learning curve. I think we did really good for what it was, but I think coming into 2025 now we'll be more prepared and we know what's waiting for us. So definitely think there's a good shot for sure. A podium, but a win would be great.
Oh, I think you have a great driver and a great backing. Monster Energy has to be super excited with her as far as one of her sponsors because she's all over social media and she's never without the M.
Oh no, that's part of the deal. The M is there forever. It's just wherever you see it, it has to be there.
Do you and Sarah ever get together and ride motorcycles together?
Not yet. We've been talking about it so much actually, because I was just at her place in March and I was like, man, I really want to go ride. She's like, well, we'll just have a bike for you next time. Let's go. But I don't know how I would do because they ride in a freaking cactus. I'll probably like end up in one, but whatever. I'll try it.
It's not. You're riding. Do you just spend most of your time on a motocross track, or are you trail riding out in the mountains?
No, just climbing mountains. That's pretty much all I do now.
You'll be fine. Some of the desert stuff out in the rocks, it's similar. It really is. And
I think so.
you got skills, so you're not going to end up in a cactus.
Oh, well, no promise, but I'll definitely try. The only thing that scares me about desert is like I'm okay with single track and climbing stuff. As soon as they start going like fifth gear, sixth gear tap, I'm out. I am terrified of that because we don't do that here. Everything is way slower, like it's way more technical. So as soon as we have to go fast, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm way more comfortable in a dirt bike now than I was, but I'm still not comfortable like I was on my quad. So there's always that little thing in my head. I'm like, I don't know.
I think one of the exciting things about the desert riding is the speed. You When you start skimming across the top of the whoops and the machine's floating, that's kind of what it's like. It's almost like you're on a cloud because it's just drifting across the top of the dirt, and all you hear is the exhaust note and the whistle of the air in your ear. It's pretty serene and pretty awesome.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying I'm going to need some practice.
I think you're going to get out there and drop the hammer and do great.
We'll see.
I mean, you seem pretty fearless to me. So, going out in the backcountry and doing the things that you do, and the navigation part about that rally, that kind of freaks me out a bit. But when I was out in the Arizona desert, I'd never been there before, and I could pick out the landmarks before my guide. And
They're probably so used to riding the same area all the time. They just get in their way and, not pay attention as much.
I think so. I mean, the guy grew up there, so he knew every nook and cranny. And, and I was pointing things out, okay, I'm going to go to this point over here and then over to there. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. That's great. Have fun. I'll see you on the other side. But it was great to have you on. I am very, very impressed with the things that you have done. Like I said, I watch you on social media, and I get to see some of the cool stuff that's going on in your life. And keep it up. If there's anything that you ever need to get out and that you need help with as far as spreading it on social media, please reach out to us. We offer that to all of our friends and fans and anybody that's involved in motorsports. If you want to get something out to the people, or with your new business Untamed, don't hesitate. Reach out to us. We will put it out on all of our pages and help you spread the word.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm waiting for more and more people to take us up on that, but less do. For what reason, I don't know. But we want to help. We want to grow the sport. We want to grow the affiliates in the sport like you that are out training people and helping people get better and bigger. And we need more of that.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's really awesome.
Well, when you love the sport, you just love the sport. And it's not just about ATVs. It's not just about ATCs. It's about the motorsports in a whole, because
the team here at ATV-TALK would love your feedback. Please email it.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV-TALK Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.